Megan Rapinoe, U.S. soccer star who has taken a knee. Oh, wow. That was early.
Wow.
She's taken a knee during the national anthem, has done it now for the first time in a United States uniform for the American national team. The statement from U.S. Soccer was not in favor of this, saying, as a part of the privilege to represent your country, we have an expectation that our players and coaches will stand and honor our flag while the national anthem is played. Rapinoe said back, I think it means a lot more. I truly feel like I am representing my country by doing this, in representing everyone that lives in this country, not just the people who look like me.
She's really light-skinned.
Yeah, no, but Ben, she's not black.
No, she took a knee during the national anthem. Good for her. I mean, I saw this 3 weeks ago when she was doing it. I guess not for the national team, but
Right.
she was the first non-black athlete to at least publicly
To disrespect
support,
our country.
to disrespect, to hate on the troops, to support Colin Kaepernick.
There's a black girl right there, and she's not kneeling.
Yeah, but it's not on her. So let's just applaud the people who are doing it. So look, man, I can't compliment Colin Kaepernick enough on this issue. I can't believe he got it to start getting momentum, because he was, if you don't know football, I've covered this before, but he was not a guy who was known as someone up to like doing charity, doing positive things in the world. He was known as the guy who's like, I got all these different sneakers and I don't care. And Russell Wilson was the good guy.
Right, yeah.
Kaepernick was the bad guy, right?
He looked like an idiot. He looked like there are thousands of professional athletes who don't seem to take it seriously. He looked like a guy who not only didn't take it seriously, but didn't work hard enough to enhance the tools that he had. He seemed on the precipice of greatness, and it seemed, again, probably wrong, but perhaps wrong, through lack of effort, lack of seriousness, didn't get to that next level. He was so easily dismissible.
There was a lot going on in the 49ers organization.
Turns out that was true.
You're saying that about Colin Kaepernick? He didn't work hard?
No, that was, I'm saying you could make that because he was eager to be.
People thought that for a while.
He's not starting.
Like
Usually.
he lost he was great, and then his fall was precipitous and glaring. And then
And it wasn't because of injury?
No, it was photographed. There was injury later, so maybe. I don't know. These guys are hurt all the time, so it may well have been that. But like he'd be photographed out, like wearing another team's hat and wearing the hat like an idiot, and like he just, he was like there was a slight Johnny Manziel quality to him. Like, hey, look at me, I'm out, I'm partying, and like you figure the great quarterbacks, you'd figure Russell Wilson is practicing.
Right. Is explicitly not having sex with his girlfriend.
Not having sex
At
with
home,
his
not
girlfriend.
having sex.
Okay, now we're too knee deep in the football conversation, but I'll say one last thing about it. Like when Gronk, who's a great tight end, parties, everybody's like, Gronk, right? When Johnny Manziel does it, they're like, fucking idiot, right? Like, no, get out there and actually, because Manziel's not good, Gronkowski's really good, it makes all the difference. And Kaepernick had a chance to be great, people thought. They're like, work a little harder.
Super Bowl.
Right, so, but now all that is, in my mind, totally washed away because he has led this movement to shine a light on this very significant problem. And it went from like the first time he did it, tremendous hatred, the burning of his jerseys, etc. And there's still a ton of people who hate him. And he risked losing his job, which was incredibly bold, because as a backup, he easily could have lost that job, right? And every other GM was, according to reports, were saying, no way we're ever going to hire him. He risked millions upon millions of dollars. It was a very bold and courageous stand. And now it's catching on. Not with everybody. Like I said, half the country probably still hates him. But half the country going, hey, you know what? Maybe we should look into that more. I mean, look at all these people who are saying we can make America better if we work on this problem. So in this case, this athlete here, I love her. I mean, based on principle. And it matters more when you're representing the national team. Yes, but not in a bad way, in a good way. Saying, I think America can get better. That's the whole point of the country.
Right.
The freedom of speech is another point of the country. That's what I'm going to do here so that we represent all of us and not just some of us.
It's the same argument as like that the U.S. national team is putting forward. It's the same argument where it's like we can argue around the dinner table, but when we have company and people are watching, just don't talk about our problems. That's what they're trying to say. I don't agree with it. I think you should be able to voice your opinion. I think people around the world who look at America as like a symbol of free speech and freedom of expression, look at what she did and probably like America all the more.
And this is not a new problem, by the way. John Carlos and Tommy Smith
Right.
did it on the Olympic medal stand in 1968 while, is it the national anthem that's sung
Yeah.
during when they're giving out the medals? National anthem's happening, and they did the
was good for
race.
them.
And there are football players doing that instead of kneeling.
And people said the same exact things. Like, we've learned nothing. Oh, they were representing our country on a good day. This is not about that. Blah, blah, blah. And now they're seen as heroes. We know how this movie ends, and it ends well for her and not for the people fighting her.
Yeah.
I just love, well, the whole thing is like you're representing our country, which stands for what? Freedom and liberty to do whatever you want. That's the beauty, right? They don't have that in other countries. But what people who are against her are saying is, yeah, you have freedom to do just what we tell you to do. Now do it. Go be free and do what we're doing. Don't do something different because you're free. Now go be free and do what we say, though. Don't do that thing. Do the free thing.
I like that idea. Do the free thing. Okay, the thing that we're telling you to do.
Do you want to move on to
Just real quick,
Wisconsin?
because every time Tommy Smith and John Carlos get mentioned. And by the way, again, Muhammad Ali, like we just got through praising Muhammad Ali.
Praising Muhammad Ali.
3 months ago, and now this literally the same thing is happening, and we're condemning Colin Kaepernick. And because you mentioned Tommy Smith and John Carlos, it's just always worth mentioning. It's Peter Norman, who was the Australian, the white guy in that picture, who finished second, I believe. Smith and John Carlos finished first and third, and he wore the patch. First of all, it was his idea. They only had one pair of gloves, and he said, "Wear one each." And then he asked them for another sticker of the Olympic Project for Human Rights and wore that. He was South African. This was 1960.
No, he's Australian.
Sorry, it was Australian. Sorry, 1968. But even then, career ruined, ostracized for nearly the entire rest of his life. He's dead now. Because he essentially stood with those guys. He didn't have his fist in the air because it was a black power salute. He wouldn't have done that because that would have been disrespectful to them. But he stood there, he suggested they wear the gloves, and he wore the patch, and he paid an incredibly dear price for it.
And by the way, John Carlos and Tommy Smith were his pallbearers. And
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And to the very end, the Australian Olympic, organization would not acknowledge him. Now they do after his death. And then they sent us a note after we did a video about it. Oh, that's not fair. What are you going to say? Oh, yeah, which part is inaccurate? No, it's not fair. Yeah, what you did isn't fair.